I personally think you're onto a really good thing with the Dadcars channel.
It costs a lot of money running a YouTube channel, doesn't it, James?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
For me, doing rough like cigarette packet maths to take YouTube from a massive loss-making enterprise into something that wasn't really turning a profit, but also was no longer hemorrhaging cash.
Yeah.
That took about 3 years.
Okay.
And by my rough calculations, probably cost me about 60 grand in the process.
Hello everybody, I'm here in the Dad B9. They say all good things must come to an end, and such is the case unfortunately with my much loved Aston Martin DB9. So I'm on my way to go and see my good friend Jayemm, because I need his advice on two things. One, what could I possibly replace this incredible, exciting car with? What should I go for next? And two, I'm planning on doing something which is either incredibly brave or very, very stupid. And I need his advice on it. So let's find out what I'm going on about. My name's Ben, and welcome to Dadcars. Well, thanks for meeting with me again, James.
That's all right.
I really appreciate it, and thanks for all your help as well that you've been giving the Dadcars channel.
Pleasure.
But yeah, so basically I need to sell the Aston because I've got 4 children now and you can't fit 4 children in it. But the other idea that I've had is whether, well, the original plan was to sell the Aston and buy an equivalent value car instead. You know,
Yeah.
Some of the other things that I've reviewed on the channel, top 2 at the moment for me as a replacement would have been an Evora or a Gran Turismo. However, it costs a lot of money running a YouTube channel, doesn't it, James?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I set aside 12 months of what I thought would be enough money to free up the time and to pay for all the things that you need to get and do. But I'm burning through that a hell of a lot quicker than what I thought. So my first question to you really is, do you think I should continue to pump loads of money in? Because the idea is to sell the Aston and buy something which is half the value of the Aston roughly, and then use the other half of that money to invest in myself and Dadcars and to continue the channel going. Do you think that's a silly idea?
Well, it probably is a silly idea, to be honest, but it was a silly idea for me to start a YouTube channel, but that didn't stop me. I think the main thing is to really be realistic about how much time and money it's going to take. For me, doing rough like cigarette packet maths to take YouTube from something which was, you know, not a hobby, I always wanted it to be a business, but a massive loss-making enterprise into something that wasn't really turning a profit, but also was no longer hemorrhaging cash. That took about 3 years. And by my rough calculations, probably cost me about 60 grand in the process. Which is a big startup cost. It's a really, really expensive avenue of YouTube to get into because you're constantly traveling, you're driving expensive cars that drink a lot of fuel. You know, for me, when I meet people, I could always buy them lunch. So, you know, your average cost of a video, you know, could easily be 100 quid or so. I personally think you're onto a really good thing with the Dadcars channel, and I think if you look at what you've achieved in the time that you've been doing it, you're actually way ahead of where I was anyway.
That is in part as well because I've had support from
2022
JM.
Even before that, I mean, but this is the kind of nature of the game. It's a collaborative medium. So I think there is a worth and a value in what you're doing for sure, and not just a, you know, for the good of the community type thing. But I think it can be made to work. I'd say it'd probably take another 12 to 18 months realistically. And the simple fact is that in that time, you're going to have to work your butt off. Like, you are going to have to do, I would say, minimum 2 videos. If you can do it, 3 videos a week.
I'm doing 1 at the moment.
Yeah, you're doing 1. Now, I started off doing... my original aim was I wanted to do at least 1 video a week, but no more than 2 a week to help me meter out the content. You don't want to just throw videos out there when they're done, because otherwise you'll wind up with like a 2-week gap where you've got nothing. When I moved from doing 1 or 2 a week to 2 a week, there was a big bump in views. When I moved from 2 to 3, there was another big bump. When I moved from 3 to 4, it was less. So I think 3 videos a week is the sweet spot. And if you actually think about it, you're like, well, that's actually kind of 1 every other day. You know, actually slightly less because you get, you know, 7 days a week. So if you're doing 3 videos in the week, you're like, it's just less than 1 a day, 1 every other day. And I know we've spoken off camera before. There are lots of ways. It's kind of like meal prepping.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, everyone thinks like, oh, I'm trying to cook a meal like every night. You're like, okay, but if you do it in a big batch, like it does make things a bit more tangible. It makes things a little bit more achievable.
Yeah.
And you can do it. Maybe it's not always the way you want to do it, and the way that you're filming currently is massively time consuming.
Yeah.
And I think you need to work out a method that's more efficient.
Okay.
Which is difficult.
Yeah.
By virtue of what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I think you can do it. You will do it. It's just one of these things that takes time, takes practice. You know, we've been out today filming some bits and bobs, and it didn't take long because I've done it hundreds of times.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm just really good at it. It's because I have done it so many times that you know what works, you know what doesn't work, you know, and you just got to boil it down to that. But I definitely think it's something worth pursuing.
Okay. All right. No, that's brilliant. Because I think if I did this, basically, if I sold the Aston, spent half the money on an exciting dad car replacement, and then set aside the other half of it to fund me, I reckon I could, you know, maybe just get just buoyant to that point where it's not hemorrhaging money.
I had the exact same thing when I started the channel. There was like 100 grand of cars on the driveway. Then like 2 years in, there was like 40 grand of cars on the driveway, and there was not 60 grand in my bank. I kept selling cars. As I ran out of money, I would sell a car, buy a cheap one, sell it, buy a cheap one, and it got like, you know, so I started the channel. I quote Orson Welles, you know, I started at the top and worked my way to the bottom. You know, I started with a nice brand new, you know, 70 grand Lotus, and after 2 years, I was driving a 10-year-old M3.
It's funny. It does kind of feel like that for me at the moment. That's what I'm sort of staring into.
Not that there's anything wrong with M3s, by the way. I love my M3, but financially, it did not look like a success for quite a long time. And the third year is brutal, because when you get popular, you're spending even more money, going even more places, filming even more things, but the revenue isn't quite there. And that's the stage. It's kind of like, not that I know anything about running, but, you know, marathon runners talk about hitting the wall, and there is a point where you just feel like you cannot possibly go on. But you have to just get through that. When you get through it, the reward will be there. And it'll turn around really quick. But going through that point is horrendous. It's the sub 50k mark. That's what it is, subscribers. It's coming up to 50k. It's horrid. Horrid. But you'll get there. So, cars.
Yes.
So DB9's got to go because you need genuine space for 4 kids.
And it's genuine space. So probably, I think, with the knowledge now that I've got with child seats, and you know, there's a free across Multimac that you can get. Basically, if it's got 2 seats in the back but it's a flat bench, I'll be able to get a free across Multimac in that. So, and I like the idea of having something like with the DB9 that people wouldn't look at the DB9 and think you can fit 3 children in there. And so it would be nice to the next car to be equally sort of shocking. Like, how's he getting 4 kids in that? That would be ideal. But but I know the budget's lower.
So what are your all right, so let's put a budget on it. So what are we saying? Like,
I reckon 20k is the top.
20k tops. Okay.
So sub 20k.
15 to 20k, give or take. All right. And what are your like absolute no's? Like definitely nots.
Absolute no's are something that you would traditionally look at and think, that's a dad car in the traditional sense. So I know that rules out a lot of, you know, nice saloons and
because my immediate thought is stuff like Jaguar XJR and things like that.
Look, and that is so close. And I mean, you've just posted a video about one, haven't you? And it sounds amazing. And look, maybe that's a contender. That's a contender. But then there is still an element of you look at that and think, well, obviously you can fit 4 children in that.
So really, what you're talking about is a 2-door. Essentially.
Well, ideally, ideally.
Okay, so 2-door, and this is going to rule out anything that's got like buckety seats in the back.
So they could be a little bit sculpted. For example, like the Gran Turismo has kind of got a little bit of what looks like a transmission tunnel, but I think it's sort of trim, and you could sort of pack out the bottoms a bit, and I still think you can make it work. So they can be a little bit sculpted, but they can't have a DB9 or a Bentley Continental sort of rigid.
Oh, is the Bentley 2?
Yeah, the GT. The Flying Spur is obviously, but that sounds like a dreadful idea that's going to probably
whatever you say, they'll have back out of you pretty quickly. I'm fairly confident. I'm supposed to be driving I think an Arnage or a Turbo R soon, and the guy has said like it has cost him in 2 years more to maintain it than to buy it.
That's And that's the thing, like obviously it will be a fruitless exercise if I'm spending all of that money, which was supposed to be for running the channel.
You've got no excuse. Go and pester Jack from number 27 because he's got his Continental GT now. So Jack, if you're watching, give him your Bentley, right? Let him see if he can get his fancy pants 3 across car seat in the back.
Yeah, it'd be good to check it out actually. Yeah, just tick it off.
Okay, so that's annoying because I thought my ace in the hole was going to be the Conti GT, but of course I don't look at things from this perspective that you do, which is what makes life interesting.
Yeah.
So the Maserati's obviously out as well. All 911s will be out. Jag XK as well, as much as I would love to say it, they're really sculpted. I think they're possibly even worse than the DB9 in the back.
Okay.
See, because a lot of stuff is just either going to be like a nice, decent 4-door. I mean, the Evora's unusual in having rear seats.
It's so bizarre. It's the cool. That's why that was really a front runner. That and the Gran Turismo, because imagine if I got an Evora and I had 4 children in it. Like, you wouldn't believe it, would you? You'd want to click on that video as well.
And
obviously I love Lotus, but...
The problem is, I think for the budget that you've got, I don't think you'd actually save any money. If you wanted to buy a half-decent Evora, it is going to cost you the same as the Aston.
Yes. No, exactly. And I'd like a 400, really.
That's another, like, 20 grand on top of your Aston. That defeats the point.
Yeah, exactly.
What's not helping us today, you see, is the fact that we had Auto Trader all set and ready to go, and it's broken. Auto Trader is currently not working. Whether that's because we are in deepest, darkest countryside and the signal is pretty sketchy, though I am on Wi-Fi, I don't know. But it's being half responsive. Oh, I've got a list of manufacturers here. I find this really helpful. So, Abarth, not really going to have anything.
No.
I wouldn't want you to buy an Abarth. AC, no. XM, no. AK, no. Alfa Romeo. Actually, I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
What about an Alfa Romeo Brera?
Okay. Yeah.
Because
never driven one.
One of the things I don't like about them is that the back seats are useless.
Okay.
Like atrocious.
Yeah.
I don't know how they managed it, but it's not a small car.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful car.
Yeah.
And this is why I think it might appeal. They do it with a 3.2 litre V6, which isn't as lovely as the old Busso.
Yeah.
But it's a very pretty thing. Do check for subframe issues and whatnot, but that's not an issue. However, the engine's got enough poke. A lot of them have 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
A lot of them have a nice glass roof as well, the panoramic roof, which is really good for kids in the back because it makes it feel a lot more open and airy for them.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the boot's like not great, but the car is quite cool. And then they're well within budget. They're like sub 10 grand cars.
Okay.
Like 10, 12 grand would get you like a really, really nice Brera.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're quite cool.
That'd be quite nice to get that on the channel, actually.
The Alpha GT is another interesting car, really quite fun, bit quirky, it's going to feel like maybe a bit of a step down in some ways from the DB9, but I guess most of what you're looking at is going to be.
Isn't it? Yeah.
But they're cool because they're a 2-door, interesting car. I've got another BMW 6 Series. Again, I think the seats in that are a little bit too sculpted again.
I looked at those. I reckon it might be possible.
That would be worth looking into. A 6 Series is a really cool car that is quite good value for money.
On BMWs, and you mentioned M3s earlier on as well, what do you think about an E92 M3 hardtop manual V8?
Yeah.
Is that a good idea?
Yeah. I think they're the bargain buy in the M world at the minute.
I know they're heavier, less rigid, but for a dad car, summer coming up.
No, they're really cool
the roof
cars.
come
They're
down.
really cool cars. They make a great noise. Oh, you think the convertible?
Yeah, that's what I'm
so
thinking.
check. So that would be I'm going to geek out now. That's an E93.
Oh, okay.
I think it's E90 is the saloon. I think E91 is the estate. Not that they did an M3 in that. E92 is the coupe, and E93 is the convertible. I think the convertible loses its looks, but it's a cool car. It's a good option.
Yeah.
You know, the wind
Nice
in the
engine.
hair, kids do like that.
Yeah, in the beard.
It's a great engine. I mean, it's not super quick, but it's nice. I would not discount that.
Okay.
Trying if the Audi range has got anything sort of exciting. I mean, I think A5s and that are all nice, but
I've always liked the idea of a manual S5 V8 again.
not bad. Yeah, because you want a special engine.
I'm a sucker for a high capacity engine. I really am.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you there. I mean, if you wanted to go brave, I tell you what, if you could get the kids in the back of a 6 Series, you could get an M6 with the V10. For
Okay.
like 16 to 18 grand.
Yeah, and it's going
To be fair-
trouble-free motoring for me.
No. Is it going to be more trouble than the Aston? Also, probably not.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah.
So you're like for most people, I'd be like, yeah, it's a bit of a step up. But as you're coming from a DB9, this actually sort of helps quite a bit.
Yeah, it does help, doesn't it? Yeah.
So M6 would be. I mean, it would be a bold choice. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But
and they do convertibles as well, don't they?
They do. They
do. And the good thing about convertibles when you're trying to get 3 children in the back of a very tight car is
and they're a big car. They are a big car as well. They're a good size. What else you got in here?
Just a bit ugly from the back, but
they are.
You can't have everything for that budget, can you?
Yeah, no, you cannot. Ferrari's at a budget. Fiat, I don't think anything that's going to kind of fit the bill. Same for Ford. Honda, you're not going to want anything because they're all either blindingly obvious or just you're just not going to want to live with them. I think it's going to feel like because you do quite a few miles as well, so you want something that's a nice place to do the miles. Jags annoyingly they're either nice big 4 doors or they just don't have either like it's an F-Type which has no space in the back or an XK which has virtually no space in the back.
Yeah.
That kind of rules all of those out, which is a shame. What else we got? Yeah, we've discussed the Evora.
Have you got to M yet?
Yeah, I'm on M now.
So Maserati, obviously a sub 20k Gran Turismo is going to cost 10, again, just hemorrhaging through that money, wouldn't it? It's just not advisable, is it? Even though you see them. But what about a Quattroporte? Now, I know that is obviously you can get the kids in it, but, you know, that it'd be a 4.2 as well, wouldn't it?
They are quite cool.
For the budget. But that engine is amazing. I fell in love with the Quattroporte when I featured one on the channel quite early. So I think that could be a contender, even though it's obviously very practical, 4 doors and everything.
No, the Quattroporte is a good car.
I would want a Sport GTS though, really.
And that you're talking 30 grand, really. That's just how it's going to be, which is, again, it blows the budget. Now there are some interesting Mercs, actually.
Okay.
Because you could go, and there's some good value options. So you could get something from like the CLK, but up to also you get the CL, which is an oft-forgotten car. So that's basically the S-Class coupe.
Yeah.
So all the luxury of an S-Class, you've got your range of big wafty engines.
Yeah.
They go like heck.
Yeah.
But they do have space in the back.
Okay, yeah.
And big boots.
And again, it's that good formula at the moment of a car which is dated looking, and a lot of people would say, the rear lights look a bit rubbish and stuff, and it's got a big, huge, juicy engine, which this is why the values are down. But then for someone like me, I love a bit of character, and I'm happy to pay the high miles per gallon if it's got a good soundtrack.
And to be fair, again, compared to the DB9, you're probably not going to be actually much worse off in terms of fuel economy.
Yeah, I set the bar at a nice level actually, didn't I, with the DB9?
You could go silly and get an RX-8. You've got to get one of those on the channel, actually.
I know, I do. I really do need to, but it's just finding one that hasn't already.
Nissan GTRs, they're too much. 370Z and 350Z are 2-seaters, so that's them out.
On JDM, surely, I don't know if you can, but surely you could get a Supra for 20 grand.
Very buckety seats.
Yeah, but again, I reckon there could be something that could be done. Because when I did your GT4, I was very surprised at the rear seats, although they're sculpted, and also you could take the base cushion out, and then it could, then be packed out potentially. But it's whether you can even get a Supra anymore for some 20 grand.
I think you can get one, but I don't know if you'd want it. That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably not.
These back seats are too sculpted, aren't they? That's the Jag XK. Really.
Yeah, see, it's
this hump in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is quite rigid.
Yeah.
It's all about the height. I can measure the height, and you can pack it out, but then obviously you don't want to charge it too high.
Because I think that is a transmission tunnel. I think that's not just a cushion in the middle.
Yeah, because some of them, like a GTR, it is just a very decorative cup holder that you can take out of a GTR. Yeah, because I saw when I reviewed the GTR, the owner's friend had done it, and he showed me some pictures where he stripped it all
they're
out.
big money again, they're the GTRs, which is sad. Otherwise, they'd be a great choice.
Yeah, and even 25 grand, again, it's probably a car that you wouldn't want to buy at 25, would you?
No. Peugeot RCZ?
Okay, yeah, it's a car that I've never considered.
Let me just check the size of the rear seats, if it has rear seats. I can't even remember if it has rear seats.
I have to admit, on looks alone, it's just...
Oh yeah, look at that. You've got to get one of these on the channel. That's completely flat rear bench. And I tell you what, inside, you would not believe. Like, I was really shocked when I got in one. I was like, actually, this is like a really nice...
How's it drive, though?
It's all right. I mean, it's a DB9,
look,
it is not.
I agree that's a good shout to get that on the channel, but I cannot see me driving one
This
of those.
is the problem.
As
You've got standards now. That's the problem. That's the problem.
No offence to anybody who's got one.
Yeah, Subarus, they're going to be ruinous.
What about a muscle car? Can you get a good muscle car for sub 20 grand?
You'd probably get a Mustang.
Most GTs sort of start around like 25.
Yeah, hell their money.
I don't really want an older one.
What about Toyota GT86? They got room in the back?
Yeah, you know, I've never looked in the rear seats.
They're another one of these cars where you're like, I don't think they're going to have room for, adults, but...
Can I get a GR86 for sub 20 grand?
A GR?
Yeah.
No. No, you'd struggle to get one for like sub 35 at the minute.
Yeah.
There's a little hump, but I don't know if you might be able to. You might be able to work with that.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. You can fit a 3 across in the back of a Fiat 500.
MR2's no good.
No, unfortunately, that's why I was thinking Supra.
Yeah, they're just obscene money. Are you not tempted to go down like the ultra luxe route?
I think the ultra luxe route for me, it sounds stupid, but would probably be the Quattroporte. I know it's not ultra luxe, but do you know what I mean? Like that sort of limousine sort of feel, but with the Italian character. That's why, because even if a Bentley Flying Spur was not going to completely ruin me financially, there's still exactly, I know, but there's still an element there of like. Is that too far gone, like down the sensible route? Yeah, I thought about a 3000 GT, yeah. Obviously, I had one before. The problem is look, I think what it'll probably come down to a lot as well is we've got some good contenders here. It'll probably come down to what comes up, Because if something came up...
I think you've got to try the M3. I think you should go and try an M3 because I think in terms of actual sensible buys, I think it's a really painfully obvious choice, but there is also a reason for it.
Well, because I recently reviewed a F80 M3 as basically like a direct comparable direct comparable to my car. I could have bought one of those instead of buying a DB9. But I found myself amazing. I actually really quite enjoyed it. I thought as a car, it's just exceptional. But I made me really want to try the V8, the earlier one, and just sort of see what that's like.
So much character.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and hardtop convertible. I know it's not going to be a popular choice.
Just check it's still got the space because the convertible will have lost some of the rear seat space. So check.
Do you reckon it's compromised rear seat space or just boot space?
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, okay.
But maybe for your purposes, not really an issue. Other than that, though, also try a Brera.
Okay.
Because they're quite cool, and nobody talks about them. And from your perspective, you got to be thinking about the YouTube side as well. And the M3 has been done to death.
Yeah, this is
true. The Brera is quite like an underappreciated little gem that I think, like, if you get a good one of those, actually, you're like, it's not a bad shout. And they are gorgeous cars. Auto Trader seems to be working again for the minute. So, the Alfa Brera, and you want one with a big engine because you then get the 4-wheel drive. So you want a 3-litre, and you want a manual, don't you? They're mostly manual.
Yes. If there's a manual available, then that would be the option.
Let me put it this way. I'm gonna search from, if I can, from like highest price. So the highest price one is 12,750.
Okay.
This is a Pro Drive one. So it's front wheel drive. It's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit sharper, better handling. Okay. Lovely interior, lots of leather and aluminium and stuff. And not enough photos on this one.
Honestly, this is the thing that I always find when I'm looking at Auto Trader. People don't take pictures of their rear seats.
People don't. They're useless. Here's another Pro Drive. Let's hope this guy's got some photos of the back seats. It's wishful drinking on our part. Well, he's got 50 photos. One of them must be of the seats. But yeah, they're flat from memory. But it was legroom. Legroom is the issue you see because the front seats are like that thick. They're huge. They're really chunky. So for an adult in the back, like no good. But for kids,
but for children, that's a good thing about children. They got little legs.
Yeah, they got little legs.
Yeah, you'll be surprised. And my children obviously used to being in the back of the DB9.
So I think they'd be fine with the Brera.
Yeah.
That's
okay. Yeah. So to summarise then, what would be your 3 top picks for me to go and investigate?
Brera, M3, and I think you owe it to yourself to try a Jag.
Okay.
An XJ or an XF, because an XJ Super Sports would be a great car because I know it's maybe looks a little obvious, but it's still an unusual car, like full stop.
Yeah.
Lots of luxury, lots of power, lots of toys, lots of nice things in it, big boot, everything you like. Because I've seen all the stuff you have to travel with in the DB9. You're like, I think you would appreciate having a car with a bit of storage space.
That's it. All the child seats that I ferry around with me, and my equipment is slowly getting more professional, isn't it? I know that's a...
So I would say that. Brera M3 Jag.
Okay. All right. No, brilliant. What should I do to round it off? Should I sort of say something like...
You drive off into the sunset.
Yeah. Right, well, there you have it. Thank you so much, James, for taking the time to talk through and give me all that really valuable advice. Honestly, I really appreciate it. How the man manages to do that when he's doing 4 videos a week on his huge YouTube channel, 270,000+ subscribers, I think, at the time of recording this. But what do you guys think? What do you think of the suggestions that James came up with today? Which of those do you think I should look into? Has anybody out there got any of those cars that you would like to see on the channel? I'll do a Dadcars review on it and sort of see if it could potentially be a car that, you know, could be the replacement for me. What other suggestions have you got? What other cars do you think for sub £20,000? You know, what could I go for? And finally, do you think I'm being stupid? Do you think I should be ploughing all of that money into chasing the pipe dream of Dadcars one day being a channel that can actually just pay for itself? I really would love to hear from you all in the comments below. Also, if you know of anyone who's looking to buy an Aston Martin DB9 and they'd like a glass key, 470 brake horsepower, sports pack car like this, and I mean, you've only got to look back at the videos I've made on this channel to see that, you know, over the last year, I've had new discs all round, pads all round, Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tyres all round, or all of the sparks and coils have recently been done. I've replaced the main module. You know, loads of the mechanical stuff, future-proofing a car like this has been done by me. And I'd love it so much if the DB9 went on to somebody else who's got children and is going to be using it as a dad car. That would be the dream for me. Is that a speed camera? God, that's sneaky. Oh, that's a sneaky one. I mean, I generally don't tend to speed anyway, but thank you all so much for watching. Remember, take a couple of seconds to hit that like button, comment below, and share this video with somebody else who you think might find it interesting. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.